Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome back to the program, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and this right here is Tom Clark's Main Event. What's up, kids? Welcome back to the program. Happy Friday to you. Hope you and yours are doing freaking fantastic. Hope you're happy, healthy, safe, and most importantly, smart. I used to come on the show and yell at you about putting on your mask. Now I'm going to yell at you about get the stupid vax. Funny how mask and vax kind of rhymes just at least a little bit. Get the stupid vax. Don't be an idiot. Idiots are not allowed on the show. So only smart people need apply. Let's say some hellos before we get rolling up in here today. Christopher, how you doing, my friend? Jeff bought a shirt. Who else needs a shirt? You get a shirt and you get a shirt. I mean, I'm not giving them away. I got to make money. Saying. Anyway, as I've said before, I'm not making a lot off this. We'll get to that in a second. Carlos Martinez, how are you, my friend? David Down Under, how you doing? Toby, welcome back to the show. Sugar Shane Odom, Jamel in Vegas. I got to come up with a nickname for you, man. I got to come up with something. Ray believes that Adam Cole is king. By the way, Ray also has a shirt. Ray, you're the man. I think you already know this. Guten Tag, Sandy, who's got all kinds of Tom Clark's Main Event merch. You're the man as well. Double V, Victor Vasquez, how are you? Alma, how are you doing? Good to see you. I will get it out eventually. Alicia, what's going on? All the usual suspects are here. Wilf, what's going on? Dave, oh, Jane, what's up? It's a good problem to have, kids. Is everybody hanging out? Chris is going to get a shirt. What are the rest of you people waiting on? By the way, you don't have to get a shirt, man. I got buttons, I got magnets, I got stuff all over the place. Let's get the ticker ticking and let's throw this bad boy up right out the gate, baby. Shop for podcast stuff. tinyurl.com/Tom Clark Pods. You can get stuff from Tom Clark's Main Event and Tom Clark's 6M podcast. That's a little something that both of my guests know something about today because they both appeared on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the guest to the show from the Untitled Wrestling Podcast, Mr. Troy Grant, and also Mr. Phil Lindsey. I got you in the wrong order. I'm gonna take you back off. Hold on. Add. Bam, there we go. You thought you were on. You're not really on, but now you're on. Guys, welcome back to the show, dude. Thank you so much for hanging out with us again today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yes, sir. Kids, you know the guys. Kids, make the guys feel welcome, as you always do. Alma's already ready to tee up the got to get a t-shirt, especially the hot garbage t-shirt. Well, there you go. Alma, you buy a hot garbage t-shirt, you'll be the first one to buy one. That'd be awesome. And then people can look at you funny when you walk around town. And it's like, why are you wearing a shirt that says hot garbage? And you're like, funny you should ask. Let me turn you on to this little ditty right here. By the way, kids, I am nothing if not a gimmick guy. Look at these gimmicks, man. If I had like a hat and like a wristband and stuff, I'd just be decked out. It's like that scene from Wayne's World when they're all wearing the corporate sponsors, you know? It's like people do things only to get paid. And that's just really sad. Anyway. All right, kids, we've got bunches of stuff to get to here today. We've got a really big show for you guys lined up. Very important. Lots of stuff to talk about. What a week this has been. It's guys, I'm telling you, this has been a very newsworthy week in this business, and we're going to kick it off with one of the biggest rumors maybe that we've heard, I don't know, maybe in years, and maybe since the AEW, creation of AEW. I don't know if I would say this is as big. Maybe it is on par. Let's talk about it right out the gate. The possibility, even the slightest scoosh of a chance, that CM Punk and Daniel Bryan could be headed to All Elite Wrestling. Phil, you and I have already spoke about this, and we're going to get to you here in a second, my friend. Troy, hit me with your thoughts on this, man. What are you thinking about this right out the gate?
Oh, boy. The CM Punk returning rumors never go away, do they? The Daniel Bryan one, I can understand. He's been very vocal about wanting to wrestle in Japan. Obviously, AEW have that relationship. That door is not wide open, but it's creaking further and further open. I'm not sure what Punk brings at this kind of time. That's not to discredit him. He's huge wherever he goes, and I'm sure he can bring a lot. I don't know whether that's in an in-ring capacity or what he does here. However, I feel there's a bit more gravity to this. Like, I try not to get too excited when I hear rumors of Punk or Bryan going anywhere else, but there seems to be a lot of weight behind this. And so, yeah, it's a phrase that gets thrown about a lot, but it's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan, especially when the likes of these two are potentially coming back and not in a WWE ring, and the amount of dream matches and crossovers that can bring.
Phil, we spoke about this during the 6M last night, which we're going to drop this Tuesday, kids. The episode is entitled The Summer of Punk. And guess what? It's episode number 50, baby. How you like them apples? So, Phil, let me hit you with this. We talked about this a little bit last night. The idea of Bryan and Punk kind of like being Hall and Nash of this generation. Not the whole we're taking over bit, but do you compare that to some degree if they were to walk in on AEW Dynamite together? Do you think that's it? Does it compare at all to what happened back in the day?
I think it's definitely kind of similar in like the sign of a big exodus from the other company. And I mean, you could say that already started with Jon Moxley. I mean, that's the huge get for AEW already, but I think getting Punk would be massive. And I mean, it feels like this rumor gets ramped up every time they come back to Chicago. And so I don't know how much of this is to sell tickets. I don't know if it's a real thing. Sean Ross Sapp reported it. I don't think Sean would have just reported if it was just a promotional thing. Clearly, there's talks in place. Now, does that mean we're going to get him? I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes up for that just yet. But the thoughts of CM Punk and Cult of Personality ringing off in Chicago. Come on, man. I'm a Chicago guy. I want it. I want it, but I don't want to get my hopes up just yet. I do feel like the chances of Daniel Bryan showing up are a lot higher based off of his interviews, based off of what they've allowed Moxley to do, for example. And it sounds like the same thing Bryan wants to do. So I could absolutely see him in AEW.
And you can't copy. I mean, maybe I don't think I'm incorrect about this. You can't copyright Ride of the Valkyries. I don't think you can. I think that's probably, but their version of it, they can, their version, but you can't copyright the actual song because AEW could do their own version of that exact theme, right?
Yeah,
and if he doesn't, he can always come out the Final Countdown.
I was going to say, I mean, there's definitely a better option. The Final Countdown. That was good when he came out to that.
Man,
I mean, Tony Khan's in the business of buying up songs anyway, isn't he? Buying this one, buying that one. What's another one? Europe would be fine with that.
No, I mean, license Code of Personality right now. Just go ahead.
Yeah, he buys songs like I buy pops. It's nothing to him. He's just like this, man. It's crazy. Chris Ray Patton says, seems like a done deal. Fightful and Wrestling Observer seem to think so. Big signings, if so, either way. Good for the brand with the hype itself. Bryan's licensing not getting renewed by WWE says a lot. There's some telltale things happening. I wonder if he does get the rights to Cult of Personality, if the plan will be, okay, we're going to bring them in on this certain Wednesday. We make it official at 5 p.m. to get the rights. Like, be sure you push it to the last possible second, because once they know, the whole world knows. So I kind of don't want to know until they show up. You know what I mean? Ray says Daniel's going to appear in New York, and I'm going. So you think they'll save Punk till Chicago and maybe save Daniel for New York? Does that make the most sense here, Phil? What do you think?
I mean, they haven't, but there's been a rumor out there for a while that they have something big planned for the New York show. And I mean, Daniel Bryan's about as big as you can get. And you know, supposedly it's bigger than Black's debut. And so I don't know who else could they have signed. And I mean, Daniel Bryan's got to be the biggest free agent out there. I don't know.
Elvis says, will that mean that AJ Lee is going to AEW? AJ versus Dr. Britt Baker. Now, I don't know if AJ's head is still in this particular game. I miss AJ. I was a big AJ fan, still am. Troy, is there a world in which she shows up, maybe not with her husband, but at some point and comes out and does the skipping around Britt in the ring and just sort of, hey, how are you? Dude, that's in my head now. I can't get it out.
As long as there's a possibility for Punt to come back, I think there's always a possibility for AJ Lee to come back. But like you say, I'm not sure whether her head's kind of still in the game or not. Don't get me wrong, I'd be really excited to see her back. But yeah, I don't know at the moment. It's yeah.
Ray says, well, Brian had to change his name. Well, yeah, because WWE owns that, but he'll just be Brian Danielson. That'll be fine. And, Troy, you and I spoke a lot about this last night. AEW caters to the hardcore pro wrestling audience. They know who Daniel Bryan is. They don't need a cue card held up to know whose name to chant. I mean, he'll just be Brian Danielson.
Of course, yeah.
Chris is asking, what tasty beverage are you enjoying? I want one.
It's a Motorhead beer. Motorhead, the band. It's called Road
Oh, look at that glass, man.
It's all right.
That's cool. That's cool.
Just got the one of those, and then just some regular cheap beers.
Another Chris, and Chris, by the way, thanks for hanging out. With all these companies working together, AEW, New Japan, Impact, don't you think WWE has to open that forbidden door? They need to do it. It's what's best for business. Well, they've already said. Then Triple H said, "Hey, we're open to working with people." I'm like,
are you though?
Up. Shut up.
Yeah, they should be open to it, but the question is that something that fits their business model? I mean, there's plenty of things that us as fans think that they should do, but they probably won't because it's just not what they do. And, they just don't play that well with other companies. Like, how well is that Evolve thing going? Sure looks like they just brought them in and then ate up all of those guys and brought them to NXT.
Yep. Yeah, because there was supposed to be another NXT show. NXT Evolve, right? Isn't that what they were talking about?
Yeah, apparently they did some tapings for it a while ago, and it came out dark and a bit sketchy, and so they kind of scrapped it and went back to the drawing board of it. My thought when I heard that was, what do you mean it came out really dark? Like, you're a television production. Like, put the lights on. How is it coming out?
Put the lights on.
But, do you know what I mean? How is it coming out? There's lights. So, you're in a studio. Like,
when you say dark, do you mean lighting, or dark is in the DC universe where everything's on fire and everybody's getting killed?
No, not like the Zack Snyder film. No.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Like the actual lights, but apparently that was the look, that the stylistic look they were going for, was to kind of give it that kind of like slightly grungier, like darker kind of like indie feel. But I don't know. We'll see. Like you said, they don't play too well with other companies. However, saying that, like over here, like NXT UK, they have like the kind of working thing with WXW over in Germany. They have ICW up in Scotland, Progress, and a few other outfits. But I don't think it's in obviously the same way that AEW are doing it. And obviously the companies that AEW are working with are much more established and globally recognized. So, yeah, there was meant to be a thing with MLW as well, and WWE, some sort of working relationship. And I don't know if that broke down or what, but I don't know, man. It would be nice. It should happen, but AEW are doing it well enough for us.
I mean, WWE doesn't exactly. I mean, the words partnership and that company, I don't think go together too awful well. It makes me chuckle a little. I just don't. I don't know. When you're the biggest game in town, what is it? How is it to your benefit? Like, I don't know. I think it turns out like ECW, where it's like, yeah, pal, we're partner with you. And then he's like, hey, who all do they have in their locker room? Can we maybe, yeah. So, yeah, I think that's kind of how it works with them.
Then we get horrible ECW on Spike. Ugh.
Oh, no thanks.
Right. Christopher Ray Patton says Fatu and Roman, that's the standout with MLW. Jacob Fatu.
Oh, come in and take over his head of the table. Yes, please.
Oh, wow.
That feud. Oh, boy.
Alicia says Vince doesn't play well with others. You're right about that. Jamie, we listen, guys. I promise you, we are not going to leave NWA out of the conversation. We are going to discuss that. I'd like it to get a little closer first. They've haven't they already said Deonna Purrazzo is going to defend the Knockouts championship? at Empower. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
Who's she
Yeah.
working again? Wasn't it announced last night?
I don't think it's been announced yet.
Ah.
They were inviting her to Empower last night on Impact, but they haven't announced her opponent yet. The rumor is it's going to be Melina.
Let's see. Robbie says AW will never beat WWE or make them leave. I just think AW is showing how wrestling should. Robbie, I don't think any of us, the three of us, are insinuating that they're going to beat anybody. I don't think it's about beating anybody. It's just establishing their own foothold in the business. By the way, kids, everybody, please hit the thumbs up and the big freaking heart button on this bad boy. If you do that, I greatly appreciate it. That way people know this is the place to be on a Friday. Let's see. Sugar Shane says, with all the exciting news around AEW, they still have issues. The refs botch in Britt Baker's match and Lance Archer's cutting his forehead open. I mean, Shane, yeah, they've got issues, but let's, if we're going to say the word issues, let's talk about the biggest company in the game. There's issues abound. I mean, I'm not going to excuse anybody for anything, but yeah, there's things there, but it's live TV. Anything can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has issues. No company right now is perfect. But if you're going to ask me who has the more buzz right now, it's absolutely AEW.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. And it's how you bounce back from those little incidents and issues and stuff like that. They may happen. They happen everywhere, and no promotion's perfect, but you wouldn't want any promotion to be perfect because it takes for these little niggles and discrepancies and issues and stuff like that for them to keep bettering what they're putting out. And without those, you don't get a better product. So these little things have to happen every now and again, I guess.
Elvis says, would you be surprised if Taker showed up in AEW? Never say never, but Taker bleeds black, white, and red. He is WWE through and through. He proved that during the Monday Night Wars. They could have brought him down south and made him the grave digger or some nonsense.
Grave digger.
I'm just saying. And gave him the entrance and everything. He stayed loyal. He stayed loyal to Vince. If Vince picked up the phone today and said, hey, pal, I bet you he would do it, whatever it is. I mean, I never say never, but come on, man.
Yeah, no. I have no real interest in seeing Taker wrestle anymore. Let him retire. Come on.
Yeah, let it go. Tom, let it go. So that's two probable, two possible returns. Let's talk about two guaranteed bona fide that actually happened. Holy crap returns. John Cena and Goldberg.
Man.
No one's excited? What? Come on, Troy. Get excited.
I jumped out of my seat when Cena came back. I was
cool.
Genuinely really excited. That was really, really, really cool. Goldberg was something that felt like I've been on the cards for a little bit, numerous rumors about. It's always cool to hear a Goldberg pop, and I don't know. I'm more excited for Cena, if I'm honest.
Phil, what's your take on both of these returns right now?
I think in terms of waiting for crowds to come back and a big shift after the pandemic era, I think people are going to remember that John Cena returned for a long time because that pop was incredible. I mean, he played it up like we know Cena would. Had an awesome stare down, did it correctly, didn't say anything in the ring, waited for the next night. Perfect. Am I as excited to see Goldberg back? Not necessarily. I think a match with Bobby could be good, but I just want my man Big E to get his dream match. Come on, man. Big meaty man slapping meat. Let's
That's it. Give us what we want. Book it.
Book it. I'll say this: when I was holding my breath when Bill came out, because I thought front of live fans, and then he gets the pop. And listen, kids, you know what they say about the hardcore online pro wrestling audience is just a small portion. They're 100% right. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, everybody, but they're right. Because you go back and watch Raw, they popped. Not one person in that crowd booed him because you would have heard it. No one booed him. And I'm like, we're a small portion. I mean, we're vocal. We're vocal as heck. But we don't represent 100% of WWE's audience. And I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? But, and honestly, I was kind of relieved that he didn't get booed. I really like Bill, dude. And I don't even want to see him. Isn't that weird? The kid in me is like, please don't let him get booed. I really love the guy. I really do love the guy. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think he was ever going to get booed. I mean, the thing is, Goldberg has so much equity after he's all the nostalgia from the WCW run, and some people that just know him from the Brock stuff, and his universal title reign. So he was going to get a pop. I think the most this says about the company is that they'll always go back to guys that they know have established star power instead of giving guys that they have star power. And I think that's the problem here. I don't think it's necessarily Goldberg's fault, though.
Yeah, no, not at all. Just like we've said many times in the past, don't get mad at Brock because of Brock. Get mad at Vince because of Brock. Don't get mad at Bill. He's taking a payday. He's a businessman. He should take a payday if it's offered to him. And he'll go in there and do the best he can, and he'll bring his star power. Why is everyone getting mad at him? Makes no sense. Let's see. Untitled Wrestling Podcast. Goldberg, 9 matches since coming back, 6 of them title matches.
Woof, woof.
That's a big stat.
Yeah. The thing is, you don't bring him back for something that isn't a title match. You're not going to stick him in a mid-card feud for 6 months, are you? He's only scheduled to wrestle 2 matches a year anyway, isn't he? So
2, yeah. You're right. Why stick him in a mid-card unless he's wrestling a legend or going for a title? I mean, it makes sense. We're getting ready to get into this, James. Why kill Keith Lee for Goldberg? I have no idea what's going on. It makes my head hurt. Peo, I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name, my friend. Pal. Thank
Pal.
you.
He's from the Philippines.
Awesome. My apologies. If Cena shows up, we cheer.
Us a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out, my friend. If Cena shows up, we cheer. I love that.
Yeah,
I didn't see John. I'm like, I physically sat back from my TV and went, what? And I turned it up and I'm like, I don't hear anybody getting mad at this. Like, I think that's the best pop this guy's heard maybe in 10 years or better. Maybe since he was face with the brass knucks and the chain around his neck. Honest to God. Like,
probably time he came back. Yeah. Was it the time he came back from injury? Was it at the Rumble or something? And he came out like Rumble. Right at the end. Like, I don't remember hearing a pop from that big since then.
Yeah.
Give fans enough time to miss some of these guys, and that's what you'll get.
That's crazy. I like John. I like both these guys, man. I really do. So we'll see what happens. Speaking of Lee, I had to do this. The cross controversy and Lee lunacy.
Oh boy.
Isn't that cute? I love it. Because nobody can spell in that company. So anyway, cross controversy. And this is a big old suitcase, and we got to unpack it because I have no idea where to begin. Somebody on here, because I posted on Facebook, and one of our great viewers, thank you guys for watching as always, made the comment that he enjoyed. He's going to wait and see what happens, and because we're just starting this thing with Jeff and with Cross, we're just let it play out. Phil, you made a great point last night. What's your answer to that? Let's let it play out stuff.
Listen, you guys, we can let things play out, but sometimes you can admit something is illogical or bad when it happens. Booking a guy to choke out Samoa Joe that just came back less than a week prior and then having him lose to a roll-up is nonsense. It is. I'm sorry, but it is. To have your undefeated world champion on one brand lose to a roll-up is nonsense. I'm sorry, but it is. And I mean, you can say I'm interested to see what story comes out of this. Cool. It might end up being a great story, but in a microcosm right there, that is everything that's wrong with Raw. I'm sorry, but it is.
Preach.
Troy, it does seem like they just go in circles with these guys. I have no idea why.
It upsets me. Like, it really does. Just when you kind of think, I'd have done a few things right here, and then this happens, and you go, okay, I thought you'd restored my faith, but then I see this, and like you say, like, Joe coming back was a huge deal. There was always the underlying kind of like, okay, Cross and Joe eventually, and then we see him choke him out the other week. Right, okay, now he's even more of this big monster heel, like choking out a beloved Joe, and then he comes on Raw without Scarlett, without the big entrance, in front of live fans, and gets rolled up in less than 2 minutes. It wasn't even like this was a 10, 15-minute match, and he'd been wailing on Jeff for ages, and Jeff had to resort to a roll-up. It was like 1 minute and 45 seconds that he rolled him up. It's nonsense. Yeah. Like, it just... There's this the whole kind of dreaded NXT call-up thing, this, that, and the other, and so, no, it's not. And you're like, well, if there was further proof needed, like... you got your undefeated champion that's been treated like a final boss on NXT, and he comes out like absolutely like he's no one on Raw. You just don't care.
Yeah.
It's it's so disappointing. So
Aren't
disappointing.
Phil, aren't they just devaluing their own show when they did that?
Yes, I think they're devaluing the developmental process for sure. And I mean, I think it said a lot that he came out to basically no reaction. I mean, it was crickets in there when he came out.
Yeah.
And I mean, for him to come out and it's quiet, and then you would think, all right, do something to show the crowd that this guy is cool. Nope, you just showed him he's a loser. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, it's like, and it's like, well, are you treating NXT as a third brand, or are you treating it as developmental? Because at the moment you're making me think it's developmental. But if I watch NXT, I'm watching that thinking this feels like a third brand. So
yeah, I think three things happened in a week that made me feel like this isn't a third brand. You have Finn Balor come back. You don't mention anything he's been doing on NXT when he comes back.
Have him come out with smiles.
Charlotte wins again. She's a world champion again. And all of a sudden, she's an 11-time world champion, not a 14-time world champion. You take away those 2 NXT title reigns that you were giving her credit for less than a year ago. And then now you get this cross stuff. And don't get me wrong. I love Jeff. No words, all of the great stuff, all of the greatest hits. But if this is your newest guy coming up, it's the same thing I just said with Goldberg. Jeff is going to get a pop no matter what he does. If he loses that match, that doesn't hurt Jeff. But when you're trying to get people that don't know who Cross is interested in this guy and he gets no reaction, having him get rolled up is fucking cross. It's counterproductive. It's ridiculous. And I mean, I wasn't mad at it when I saw it. I just kind of chuckled and was like, yep, figures.
Was it wishful thinking to have him come out and actually look good?
I know, right? Ruth says, sorry, all, but once you get from NXT to the main brand, kiss your career goodbye because you'll be buried. I don't know if buried is the right word. I always say buried means you're not on TV and you're only on house shows and they're not pushing your merch. They're not talking about you. That's buried, in my opinion. So, but if I'm one of those fans that throws that word around all the time, what I saw with Cross, it almost came out of my mouth. Way to bury the guy, which,
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's a burial.
No. It's not, poor treatment.
Yeah, it's not good either. It's definitely not something you want to do with a guy that you're just introducing to your core fan base. I mean, imagine if Kevin Owens comes up and challenges John Cena in an open challenge and he just loses. What does that do for Kevin Owens? Nothing. Same thing. Finn Balor comes up first night after the WWE draft and he just loses in all those matches. He doesn't get hot-shotted straight up to the Universal title match. Like the goal is supposed to make people in your core audience care about these guys.
Yeah. Chris says Charlotte also not counting the NXT titles as part of her legacy. Also, we just hit on that, Chris, for sure. I have no idea what's going on with that.
The thing is, it's like, how do you not recognize that? Like, it's either a world title or it's not, because she won the Rumble the other year, and her main event of Mania was for the NXT Championship. So it either is a world title or not. Like, you've had a challenge for it at Mania, so surely it's a world title. Otherwise, put it on Takeover and don't include. Like, I don't know.
Do you guys feel like they've tried to act like WrestleMania 36 didn't happen?
Didn't happen.
Because it kind of feels like they have.
Yeah. Like that last year. No, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
They're pushing the do-over button. They
mulligans.
Yeah.
Mulligans.
We're gonna go in the Wayback Machine and fix all that. Don't worry about that. William says, "Where is Bray Wyatt, the Fiend?" Bray's at home watching his TV, going, "I don't think I'm going back." Have you watched this? Oh my God, it's so bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I miss Bray. It sounds like he's going through some personal stuff. Sounds like he had like some stuff with the passing of Brody Lee, and I just wish him well. Hopefully he's doing well. Hopefully he's back on TV soon.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I just don't want to see Bray the Invulnerable again. I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to see the red light district happening on TV. I just don't. Hoy. Frank says Cross is too good to job for anyone. But then again, if you are not in bed with Vince, it's your bad luck. I'm trying to watch less and less their product because Frank believes
hot garbage.
I'm just saying.
I don't know, man. It scares me that they immediately separated him from Scarlett. That tells me that they see something in Scarlett that they want to protect, but not necessarily him. And it has that feel, that Mark Merrill feel, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Oh my God! I wish you hadn't said that. It totally does.
Why did you plant that seed?
Vince looked at her. Vince looked at her from across the room and said, "Wow, look at that!" Yeah, that's. Oh my God, we're gonna go down that road, aren't we? Yeah, jeez Louise.
I hope not.
On the flip side of this is the whole Keith Lee thing. I don't know. I don't get it.
I wasn't as upset with the Keith Lee stuff because what it sounded like is he had some health issues that kept him off TV following COVID. And so I was glad he's back. Regardless if he lost, I'm glad he's back and he's clear to wrestle again. Now, should they have done it this way, seeing as they just did 6 months ago, having him lose a match and then Goldberg came right out afterwards? Yeah, probably shouldn't have repeated that. But again, I don't know. They've never really had plans for Keith Lee from the second they brought him up. And this is another example as to why. So it is what it is.
I like both these guys. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm curious to see. Let's get to another big headline this week that we're going to start reviewing a couple shows here. The Bullet Club has arrived, ladies and gentlemen, on American soil. That's right, Troy. We got them over here, pal. So, yeah, they have arrived. Jay White and Hikuleo on two different brands, two separate nights. The Bullet Club has arrived. If anyone watching this show looks at me and says, Jay White, what's the big deal? First of all, shut up. Second, go watch the promo from Impact because, my God in heaven, are you kidding me? He showed, and people on Twitter going, oh, my God, this guy's – I'm like, we've known this for years, Phil. We've known how good this guy is. Like, oh, my God, he makes it look so easy. I don't know if he's always been good at promos before he really got to the big time, but – man, it just feels like it's just natural for him doing this.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that thought Jay White's not a big deal, we don't have to listen to that talk. We know what that is. We know that's hate. We're talking about one of the best heels in the industry at the moment.
Yes.
Last year, I felt like he was the best heel in wrestling, and possibly my favorite Bullet Club leader. That promo he cut last night was fantastic. I loved Callis coming out and hitting him with some barbs like we knew Callis would, and he immediately came back, didn't shrink, and said, hey, didn't I beat your guy for the IWGP US Championship, and made Kenny immediately go in the back. That's our guy, man. And Hikuleo's great. I think Hikuleo's got a ton of potential. If that means that we could potentially see the good guy Tama Tonga in America very soon, give it to me.
Please, give it me now.
Oh my God. It's so funny. Tama on his Instagram, I think it was Instagram, put up a photo of him and Tonga and their dad, Haku, with Goldberg, and they're all smiling and posing for a pic. And Tama's like showing respect to Goldberg. And I'm like, my brain is exploding here. Like I've got WWE and I've got Bullet Club and I've got, oh my God, it's there's so many companies at one time in one picture. And I'm like, you know what I mean? So God bless it, man. That's some good stuff. Troy, what do you think about the long game with Jay and Impact? Do you think he gets Chris Bay on board? Does Chris put on a t-shirt at some point? What do you think?
He does. I think it feels like, and I might be overthinking it, feels like we're going to get the invasion angle that we never got, but with New Japan and AEW and Bullet Club coming in. And yeah, it's so exciting. So exciting. Chris Bay's putting a shirt on. Of course he is. Give it time.
They're supposed to tag up together next week on Impact, Phil, right?
Yes. Not only do I think Chris Bay's putting that shirt on, I think he's getting that Impact World title very soon. That's my thoughts.
Ooh.
I want it. Make him champion.
Yeah, let's I'm anxious to see what happens. I just love Jay. He's the man. And we'll see about Hikuleo. I get to be in Charlotte next Wednesday night, kids. So look for your boy. I'll be near the ramp. So if you watch and you're like watching it right, like it's right in front of you, I'm to the left. So me and my kid and Gary Benfield, owner promoter of HVW, will be right there near the hopefully near the end where the ramp is. But I'm gonna be representing
because I was thinking, be represented so we can at least spot you with that.
I may even take the cup. I'll be like, hey, what's up? The camera will pan over and I'll just be like,
sir, you cannot drink outside beverages here.
Well, no, the cup's from outside, but the beverages from inside. It's fine.
That's right. Yeah.
Just keep getting it refilled.
Think they'll serve me hot coffee? That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We'll see. Let's see. Timothy, you're always a great fan, my friend. Thank you so much for watching. I like Jay White said the real Bullet Club fans were raising their too sweet like it was 2013 all over again.
Got fired.
It's good stuff, man. Let's see. Let's hit a few more things here. Thunder Rosa, to no one's surprise, really has signed with All Elite Wrestling. Troy, what? I mean, I assume she hasn't completely severed ties with NWA. I don't know that she's booked on Empower, but I think I have a hard time believing she won't be there. I mean, this is good for her and her career. Yes,
that's amazing. What a birthday present for her as well. I think this was announced on her birthday.
Yeah,
she is phenomenal. The work she did with the NWA title, and yes, she may be All Elite, but we know that there's that working relationship with NWA. She's going to be at Empower. Like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. She's definitely going to be there, and I don't think it'll be the last we see of her in NWA. But yeah, it's just bolstering that AEW's women's division, which is going from strength to strength now. You've got Britt Baker, obviously, at the top that's doing the Lord's work at the moment, and then bringing in someone like Thunder Rosa, it freshens things up as well. Like I was saying to the boys yesterday when we were doing our AEW like Dynamite review about who challenges next, who comes into the women's title picture next. You know, we've had Shida and we've had Nyla Rose and we've had Riho, which is like, okay, well, times like Thunder Rosa just signed now. Now we've got what's her name? I forget her name. Brazilian girl, used to be in NXT. Ty Conte.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and just this crop of women's wrestlers like growing and watch the division kind of evolve. And Thunder Rosa is an incredible addition to
that. Phil, what do you think? We're eventually going to probably see Rosa versus Baker, yes?
Yeah, Britt can always say I never lost because that match was unsanctioned. And yeah, you possibly can say that is already one of the best matches of the year, that unsanctioned match. So I have to imagine they're going to want to revisit it as soon as they can. I just think that Thunder Rosa becoming one of the hottest wrestlers in the industry is one of the best stories over the last 2 years. Going from basically a indie unknown to just having her own promotion and, promoting women's wrestling in the right way. And then, basically using that as a feeder for AEW. And I mean, turning down an offer to be a ref, which is nonsense for WWE.
Wow.
And making yourself a star and ending up on network television during the pandemic. And now you are signed. I just think it's fantastic. Happy for her.
It's good stuff. Chris says, just don't go straight to Rosa versus Britt, as the fans treating Britt as a huge babyface. I would wait a bit. I agree. Britt's 100%. Babyface right now. I'm sorry, because the crowd says she is. Elvis, I'm gonna throw this in here for you, my friend. I'll pop for Chavo. Yeah, we haven't gotten to Dynamite yet, but we'll get there. Yeah, I love Chavo. I think he's a great addition to them, and I think he's going to do well beside Andrade. Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens next. I like Thunder Rosa a lot, and here's something we can't forget here, kids. She's not been doing this that long. She hadn't even been at this for 10 years yet, has she?
Well, to be fair, now's Britt Baker. Like, do you remember that picture they put up of Nia Jax like a month or so ago? And it was just like, oh, Nia Jax has been dominating since whatever. And it was just after Britt Baker had that match where she was all over the headlines, and the woman in the picture that Nia Jax had squashed was Britt Baker. And so you forget she's only been doing it a couple of years as well. So there's a really interesting story here, watching their kind of like trajectory and going up and coming from these different. And like someone said just then, like Christopher, like, let's not go straight into Rosa Britt. We already know there's a history there with their unsanctioned match. They can really, really slow build this, and there's always going to be the excitement to see them face off against each other. But keep that tension building and building and building.
Yeah.
It's going to be really fun to watch them eventually have that.
Yeah, I like Baker a lot. She's babyface. The crowd says she is, and it's funny because at first, well, it's like Nyla Rose is, well, she's the heel. Well, they're cheering. Well, now she's a face. Now she's a heel, and they haven't screwed anything up for me. But I did have the thought, man, if this were happening to WWE, they would have completely screwed this up by now. They would have, you know what I mean? Like AEW's just letting it breathe. Just let it breathe. Let it happen. Whatever happens, let it happen. Don't force it one way or the other. And I'm like, in Vince McMahon's hands, this thing would have been screwed from the get go, because we've seen them do it before with the whole Becky turn, and we're all sitting back going, wait a minute, they're trying to convince us she's a heel, but how come she's getting cheered every single time she's on TV? Like, I don't get it. Let's talk about some big time shows that happened. Money in the Bank. Troy, I'm about to cover you up like crazy, my friend. Look at that. You're not even there anymore. I won't leave that up.
Thanks, pal.
I know, right? Let's run down the results real quick. The Usos win SmackDown Tag Team titles, and Nikki Ash wins Money in the Bank. AJ and Omos retain the Raw Tag titles. Lashley retains the WWE title. Charlotte wins the Raw Women's title. Big E wins Money in the Bank. Woohoo! Roman Reigns retains the Universal title. So, Phil, highlight of the show for you, my friend. Go.
Oh, definitely my man, Big E, winning the Money in the Bank. That was my prediction. I was hoping they were going to do it. There's so much story that they can do here because Kofi has the most Money in the Bank appearances with 7, tied with Kane, and Big E won on his first appearance on the same night that Kofi lost. I think that's definitely foreshadowing our guy cashing in on Bobby Lashley and becoming WWE champion. At least I hope. And again, if that gets us to that Goldberg match, give it to me.
Oh, I think he just booked it, Troy. What do you think?
I'm in 100% agreement. My highlight was also Big E. Been saying for ages, Big E needs to win Money in the Bank. Big E needs to be in the world title picture. This is his way in, but it's a really intriguing way into it. There's so much they can do with this now. There's so much off the back of Kofi versus Lashley earlier on in the night. And I'm just so excited for it. I'm so happy to see Big E win it. And we were gushing over him the other day after our review of Money in the Bank and just saying it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. And you hear him in interviews and this, that, and the other. It's just such a nice guy. And it's just so good to see him finally get that moment that he really, really deserves. Aside from that, my other highlight was John Cena.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I thought it was a really good show. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I was entertained by it from start to finish. I mean, even the weak points of the show, I was fine with. I'm not crazy about the Usos winning the titles. Not because I was against it, but the whole Jimmy Uso thing, I'm still just this idea that people in that company maybe don't have to answer for bad stuff. And if the guy had never been in trouble before, I wouldn't be so hung up on it. But dude, this guy's been in trouble a lot. And it's this whole idea, well, Tom, they've got storylines, pal. Shut up. You know what I mean? You could have took them off TV for a month and it would have been fine. You could have explained it somehow and said, look, I'm going to sit you home for 4 weeks. I mean, you can come back in a month. I mean, something, my God. Phil, what kind of message you think this sends to the rest of that locker room, or does it?
I don't know if it sends a message to the rest of the locker room. I think it's I don't know the whole situation. I don't know what he's going through. Addiction's a really personal thing. I don't want to jump in and judge the guy. I just don't know. But I just thought it was weird. Even if you're going to give him the win, why not do it on the main show? It was kind of like, oh, we're going to make him champion, but hey, let's do it over here where nobody knows. But we're still going to make it a big part of the storyline on the pay-per-view and SmackDown. So it was kind of like, if you're going to do it and you made such a big deal of Rey and Dominic winning, why not do it on the pay-per-view? I don't know.
I agree. It's the one match I probably would have swapped out from the main card. is the Raw tag match for the SmackDown tag match, because for me, the
Mm.
SmackDown tag match has more implications for future storylines. Saying that, do you put AJ Styles in the pre-show? Probably not. So it's a difficult one.
Right. Yeah, that's a good call. Ray says, horrible Kingston had to get squashed. Roman is losing to Cena. Big E is the man. AJ and Omos is a horrible tag team.
Well, did Kingston get squashed though? Because I felt like he got squashed when he fought Brock. Like I felt like he's put up a good fight here. This was just a statement win for Bobby, and I'm fine with it being a statement win if it leads to Big E coming for revenge. If that's the story we're telling, great. If this is just another way to tease you guys and go, hey, I know you guys like Kofi Mania. Look, he's finally getting a title shot. Like, stop teasing us with that if you're not putting the title back on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're putting a pin in the whole Uso thing. Chris with a great point. At least find him or make some statement about it. Not judging the guy, but more so the company as a whole. Not a good look in general. 100% agree.
Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely
Yeah.
fair. They should have said something about it if he was still going to be on TV to basically just kind of wash it away like it didn't happen. It's weird. But, I mean, that's what they do now. I mean, it's kind of what they're doing with Riker and numerous other things. So, who knows?
Yeah.
Have you noticed, though, like in the last couple of weeks since that arrest happened, within some of their promos and stuff like that, they're almost subtly making references to the fact that that has happened. So Roman came out and said something the other week where he was like, or was it Roman? I think it was Jay, and said something like, we've gone through various struggles and this, that, and the other. And as he did, he puts his arm around Jimmy and looks at him. And Roman said another thing about taking Jay and making him the main event. And he said, we got through his issue and we ironed this out. And he said, and we'll do the same with you, or something like that. So It feels like, I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but it feels like they're really subtly referencing. That's not to say that they're, they shouldn't be doing other stuff, or at least kind of as a company recognizing, look, okay, there's some issues he's dealing with, et cetera, et cetera. We're not kind of glossing over it, but, not setting a precedence, I guess.
You just put a horrible vision in my head, Troy, of them going down the Scott Hall or Jeff Hardy route where they're bringing it to light and making it a storyline. And
no.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I don't put it past them.
Yeah, and if you're one of those losers that we're going at Naomi because her husband has legal issues and stuff, leave her alone. That's nothing to do with her. Like, cut it out.
Jesus.
It's
I don't get that.
Mm.
Oh, hey, look, Toby, I'm not going to say I agree with you, but this is the risk you take when you're a public performer. If the crowd were to start chanting at him, I think they love the Usos. But if this were to happen, they can't really shut it. Well, they can turn down the crowd volume. They've proven that on live TV. They do have the capability of doing that. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
If you're a fan, don't do that. Don't chant DUI at that man. Stop it. Don't do that.
It seems ridiculous, but I would not be surprised if any of the scenarios we just mentioned take place, because I know how this silly little wackadoodle business goes. So I think we all do. Carlos says maybe he got punished, but they're not making it public. That's fair too. Maybe we don't know what was said to him. We'll see. I enjoyed the show. I'm with you, Phil. I don't know that the Kofi thing was a squash. It was fairly competitive. What Brock did was, flat out homicide against Kofi, premeditated murder. I don't think that's what we saw against, Lashley. So,
yeah, I mean, hey, we got to see Lashley do the Dominator again, and I've been asking, where's the Dominator?
Yeah.
So 3 Dominators to put Kofi away. That is not a squash.
Got that from Ron Simmons, man. There you go. So, yeah. Let's talk some about ratings here, kids. Let's see what the live crowd effect had. SmackDown had a pretty darn good week, 2.31 million versus 1.98 the week before. Raw up to almost 2 million, way up from 1.61. I mean, I say way up, but it looks way up to me. I mean, Troy, watching this stuff on TV, I'm not going to say it forgives the bad booking in that company, because quite frankly, the Pope couldn't forgive the bad booking in that company. But man, it makes it a lot easier to digest, doesn't it?
It does, and I know there was this whole thing a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember who said it, whether it was Triple H or someone within WWE. It just said basically we're kind of We're saving a lot of stuff for when we get back. They've been keeping the powder dry, if you like, until they have that live crowd back. Saying that, not to compare too much, but AEW said, Tony Khan's very vocal, and we've got some big things planned for crowds back and stuff, but it didn't stop them still putting on a decent product for the months and months and months building up to them having crowd back. Right. And WWE coming in with this kind of promise of, we've got some big things planned, so please go and buy a ticket. Well, give people a reason to want to come and buy a ticket in the first place in the weeks and months building up to it. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me to see how that's ramped up. I mean, everyone's excited to see crowds back. We knew there were going to be some big things. Not just because crowds being back, but also the fallout from Money in the Bank and what happened and who showed up there and stuff like that. So that doesn't surprise me, but it'll be interesting to see where that goes over the coming weeks. Once it starts on a plateau, if you like.
Oh, for sure. I didn't mean to cut you off. We're getting some comments in chat about that Raw wasn't that great. Timothy says there was nothing good on TV last Monday. Toby says take away the Cena appearance. It was a typical Raw. I don't think we're suggesting that this past Monday Night Raw was one for the ages. I'm just saying it was a bit easier to watch thanks to the live crowd. Having said that, they basically did the same matches again that they do all the time, and they're never going to change the way they book things because crowds are back. Now, I would hope, Phil, they do, that maybe there'll be more stuff on the fly based on crowd reaction, but they weren't really doing much of that before, were they?
No. I look, it was great to have live crowds back. I don't know if that necessarily helped Raw as a product, but it definitely helped return to normalcy for wrestling fans. And that was great. It was great to see John Cena get to play off a crowd. Awesome. But if your answer when live crowds come back is not that we've been building up our guys that are on TV every week so that you're excited for them when they get back on TV and when there's live crowds again, your answer is, hey, let's get Cena back who hasn't been on TV. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign at all. And here's Goldberg, guys, who you haven't seen since WrestleMania. I just don't know. I think the biggest shame in all of this is that Bayley got hurt because Bayley did so much when there were no crowds there, and she deserved that crowd pop. And so she's one of the few stars on the roster that I felt like that benefited plenty during the pandemic era that didn't get to see the payoff here.
She almost reinvented her character without the reaction of a crowd for more than a year. And I've heard a lot of people say that over the last few weeks since her injury was announced, that it's never nice to see someone get injured. But someone like that, where you just go, if anyone was deserving of getting that reaction and coming back in front of fans, given everything she's done over the last 16 whatever months sort of thing, she'd have come out to an absolute chorus of boos, knowing that, okay, that's because of the work you've put into that character. And people, it's not a boo because they dislike it. It's a character thing, but it's an appreciation for that's how much you put into that character, and for her not to be able to have that. Saying that, when she does come back in 9 months' time, the pop she's going to get when she comes out, it's going to be ridiculous.
Oh my God, big time. Elvis throws a good one here to us. Who will be the winner of Queen of the Ring?
Queen of Spades, Shayna Baszler.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I would love that.
That's if she doesn't get hypnotized.
Oh no, let's not.
we didn't talk about this during the Money in the Bank because I wanted to stay on the positives. That women's Money in the Bank match was not good. It was not good. I'm sorry, but it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Hey, great for Nikki. I was happy Nikki got that win. They haven't given her anything really to do on the main roster outside of Alexa stuff. So that was great for her, but I did not enjoy that match. And I think that's indicative of the fact that a lot of the women on Raw and outside of Bianca Belair have nothing to do. And so it's tough for me to even predict who's going to win Queen of the Ring, because who has anything going right now? What woman on the roster other than Charlotte or some like Bianca feels like a star right now?
Liv Morgan's over as hell. She's not being made to feel like a star, but I don't know. It feels like in the whole balance of Money in the Bank, they kind of try to get her across as this. She deserves to be in it, but we're not going to put her in it. And then they begrudgingly put her in it. So from what they're trying to portray her as, she comes across as a fan favorite. Whether or not she'll win Queen of the Ring, I don't know. It feels like it's set up for someone like Sasha Banks or Becky Lynch to come back and win it.
Hey, if it's me, the loudest pop when she came out was Naomi. Make Naomi queen of the ring.
Good shout.
Ooh. I'd go for that. It's so I don't want to get off on a tangent here, guys, but they've got so many talented women in that company, and they just I don't know. The fact that the NWA, no disrespect to Billy Corgan and the NWA, I love those guys, but like the fact that the NWA is being the biggest company in the world back to the punch with an all women show, and I love that they can do that, not to spite WWE, but just as a way of saying, you're not going to do it. We would love to do it. In fact, we've wanted to do this for a long time, and we're going to make this fun. Dude, I can't wait to watch that show.
I'm excited as hell for
I'm
that.
so pumped up to watch that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great. I really love the idea of Mickey and the trash bag stuff happening and going home and going in the room like Thanos and says, sometimes you got to do it yourself. So, way to go, Mickey. Bring all of the promotions together and show them that you can do an all-women show.
Like all the Infinity Stones together in the same place.
In the same bin bag. Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
she's going to like do the snap and bam. You should have went for the head. There you go. Oh, wouldn't that be great? She could have promo and say, you're going to show me the door, hand me a bag. You should have went for the head. Bam. Oh my God.
Full Thanos.
I'll send that in. Let me get Vince on the phone. Everybody just, yeah, he's still not returning my calls.
Oh man.
I don't know what's going on out there. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's see. Hey kids, I don't mean to leave you guys out, man. We're just having so much fun talking. Carlos says, can't believe a Power Ranger won the women's.
Wow. The new
Okay,
they were
that's
dressing
pretty
as
funny.
Power Rangers the week before.
I'm
Power
sorry.
Ranger.
That's funny. When she celebrated among the crowd and they made it last for like 20 minutes with her celebrating among the crowd.
20 minutes.
I almost halfway through that bit, I thought, get her out of there. Are they excited for her? I love Nikki. Are they excited for her? Or are they excited because they're back with each other at a wrestling show and the camera's on them? Like that's the shallowness of me, I guess, coming out. But I'm like, take this home, get her out of there. Because I didn't want the excitement to start fading for her. Do you know what I mean? Like it almost felt like, look, fans, look, they love her. See? And I'm like, oh my God, I so get it. Now get her out of there.
Get out.
Yeah. Again, happy for Nikki. Apparently this was her idea for her to, take something that, is her idea and they gave her nothing and get to go all the way to Money in the Bank and then cash in. That's great for her. And she deserves it. Seems like a very nice person. Everything I enjoyed out of it was watching the entire wrestling community online be happy for Nikki after the cash in. Like that was awesome. So good for her.
Yeah.
I still miss Crazy Nikki.
I do. Sanity Nikki was the best.
Yeah.
I think with this whole kind of almost a superhero gimmick and whatever else it's going to lead to is it's a lot of talk coming out like this was her idea. This was something that she went to creative with and said, I've got this idea for a character, and they let her run with it. Now, there was an interview, I think, this week with Tucker, formerly of Heavy Machinery, and Tucker, and he was saying about him pretty much just sat in catering, not having anything, and him coming up with all of these different kind of ideas. And it was almost like he was having to pitch lower than he wanted to, knowing that that's what would get their attention. So whilst Nikki pitched this idea and they went with it, I almost feel like she was pitching this knowing it as something they grab onto because it's a bit hokey rather than pitching something like, I want to go back to my Sanity gimmick, which was over his hat and was awesome. I'm going to pitch this. Like, it may seem a bit daft, but it's the sort of thing they go for.
Yeah.
So that's my view on it. Ultimately, it's nice to see her, A, as a champion, deservedly, B, winning Money in the Bank in the first place, and C, having the crowd react the way they are to her.
Sugar Shane, before I could even say it, I envision this superhero thing at some point. She's cutting a promo and suddenly she's a little bit giddier than usual. And she's kind of looking around and she starts getting a little twitchy. And then we see a natural progression back to she's losing her mind again. Like, oh Oh my God. I suddenly want to see that. Like that. They'll let this play out. And then like, hopefully at some point it'll be a divergence of both personalities where it'll be like,
That'd be cool.
Oh my God.
This is the comic book geek in me thinking, I'm just like, does she start off a superhero? She goes almost a superhero, an anti-hero, and then a villain. And she does that whole like,
yeah, I mean, that's the same color scheme as the Sentry. If we're getting Void Nikki.
That's it. We've gone off on the trajectory now. That's it.
Oh my God.
Give us Void Nikki.
We were off on an alternate timeline. It's branched, right? Mobius is going to show up and prune all three of us at one point. Wow, that's great.
That's a cool idea, though. Like you said, this whole superhero thing, and then because that character's still that whole kind of like crazy Nikki thing. Like turn it back to that. Oh, can you imagine?
And
good.
You know what's awesome? They're not going to do any of this.
No,
because this is awesome and smart and fun, and we're all going yay, and they're going to go. Wrestling fans don't know what they want. We'll tell them what they want. What?
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, kids, everybody hit that like and thumbs up button. I'd very much appreciate that. Don't make me show up to your house and prune you as well.
To get back into positive, at least they're trying to do something with a baby face that's interesting. And I mean, you can't help but smile like when she was standing in the crowd with that little girl and she took the selfie with her. And that kid was super excited to be there. Like that kid's never going to forget that. That's awesome.
That's true. Thank you, Phil, for reminding us that this is supposed to be fun. Freaking jaded and cynical Tom and Troy here, just raining all over the parade. You know what I mean? We're like, let me tell you why it's crap. And Phil's like, hold on, relax.
Hang on, let me pick the good out of this.
I mean, yeah, I'm just mostly happy for Nikki. I still think that some of the stuff that they've done is not great, but you know, it's good for Nikki.
Chris is going to bring us back to the negative. Probably Alexa versus Nikki, but Nikki's a superhero, so she can't be hypnotized. And then he said, I have no faith in this. Yeah, I mean, it's off to a good start, but Alexa is their guy. Okay.
No.
Period. Nikki's not. Other period. I'm just saying, like, I want this to end well. I will not hold my breath.
I give it 6 months until Nikki Cross is running around with Molly Holly and Hurricane Helms dressed as superheroes as some sort of like crap, like superhero squad. Like the B team, like I don't know.
Oh God,
B team, go.
Oh my God, I had totally forgotten about that.
Bo Dallas didn't die for this.
Right. Oh, that's great. Let's talk about night 2 of AEW. That's right, everybody. We're finally to the AEW part of the show. Thank God. AEW Fyter Fest Night 2 results. Chris Jericho defeats Shawn Spears in the first Labor of Jericho, which I freaking love that name. Doc Gallows defeats Kaz. Darby defeats Wheeler Yuta. Britt Baker retains AEW Women's Championship against Nyla Rose. That's it? Yeah. Orange Cassidy defeats The Blade. Lance Archer, for the second time in his illustrious career, is your new IWGP United States champion. Troy, wow.
Yes, boy.
They're in his home state of Tejas. I mean, we're all thinking, you think they'll do it? And the WWE fans in their audience are like, nah, crap, they're not going to do it. They suck. But then they're like, oh, they did it. They don't do weird stuff here.
No one went to their hometown. Right. We don't allow that nonsense.
Archer,
awesome.
Archer on social media is not his character. He's a faith-based guy. His tweets are always awesome. He's always above board. And he flat out tweeted at John and said, that was awesome and fun. Let's do it again. I mean, Troy, what a match that was.
He is one wholesome mother lover. I'm a big fan of Lance Archer. That was a great match. It was really, really fun. Just so glad to see him win and retain that. It was a fun match. It was cool. I think part of me thinks they didn't up the ante maybe as much as they could have done given Jericho's next match. So not to kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? They didn't want to kind of dilute that before it happened. Had they made this kind of over the top and kind of visceral and brutal and stuff like that, it may have taken away from what we're getting next week. However, this was awesome. It was a fun match. And yeah, like you say, like Lance being a completely different guy on his social media and thanking John afterwards. And yeah, it's awesome. So good to see. It felt like the whole show, that whole kind of Fyter Fest night 2 was building to just that last match there. The rest of the show was okay. Like it had a few of its high points, but yeah, that was the no pun intended, but that was the pinnacle. That was the moment. That was awesome.
Phil, that not that no one viewed him as this before, but I hope now everyone looks at Archer and says this guy's a superstar. I mean, because he is, and man, what a match that was.
Yeah, I desperately needed that win. He's lost every title match with AEW so far, so he needed the big win, and so it's great to see him get in his hometown. And going over Mox, that's big. I mean, yeah, I mean, he didn't pin him clean, so you could still do a rematch. I thought it was great. Got to talk about Nick F. Gage popping up. Oh my God.
Everyone's
Nick
talking
F.
about
Gage.
it. Yep.
Got to be like the biggest surprise of the night.
Yeah.
Ray says, not a Nick Gage fan. It's like parking lot wrestling, bats, knives, and chairs. Not my thing. I'm with Ray, guys.
I'm with Ray.
I'm not going to throw any shade because I don't know Nick. I don't know much of his work, but what I do know is atrocious, in my opinion. This business is about protecting your opponent. You can get over all day long without doing certain things. And if that's not your gig, fine. But like, it's not my style. And I'm going to be in Charlotte next week when he faces Jericho. You're going to put this in front of a small town in the South. And the hardcore AEW fans will be there for sure, because there's a lot of us down here. But like, I don't know how it's going to play out. I think Jericho is going to get cheered like crazy. I don't know, man. Phil, tell me why I should care about this guy, or should I?
Well, I mean, I'm not the biggest deathmatch guy, but Nick Gage is the guy. I think most people that like Nick Gage, they like the guy Nick Gage. It's not necessarily I like his style of wrestling. It's just that he's such an endearing guy. And that sounds crazy for a guy that robbed a bank and is extremely violent, but it's just something about the guy that makes you want to cheer for him. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's that he's so down to earth. Maybe he's so like, he doesn't seem like a terrible guy. And everything I've seen of him, I've seen cameos he does for people. He's inspiring in a weird way. I don't know, man. It's just,
that's not a word I thought I'd hear used to describe Nick Gage.
It's weird. It's very strange, man. It's something about the guy that is just like you just want to watch it. Maybe it's just a train wreck and it's just like you just can't look away, but it's just something about him that's just fascinating. Like if you watch the Dark Side of the Ring about him, it's just something about him that's just like, this guy is cool.
Wow. Troy, what do you think? What's your take on this guy?
I'll be honest, the only stuff I know of him, and I can see it in the comments now, Aaron posting MDK all effing day.
MDK
First card
day,
owner
brother.
tomorrow night, then deal with Jericho, can't wait. I know that Aaron that I do the podcast with is a big Nick Gage fan. Deathmatch wrestling isn't really my thing. I have many reserved opinions on that, which we won't get into now. But each to their own, and you can like what you want. That's fine. I don't want to get into it too much. Like he's there. It's for me like going to this whole Labors of Jericho thing. That's intriguing in itself. It's like the labors of Hercules, if you like, and these kind of tasks to prove himself. He's going on tour with Fozzy in a month or so's time. They're coming over to the UK as well. It feels like he's going to be having like a decent amount of time off. This almost feels like a sort of mini bucket list for him of things to tick off before he goes off and has that extended time, which may or may not lead into some semi-retirement. Because let's be honest, and no offense, he's no spring chicken now, and it feels like he's kind of coming to the twilight of his career, whether he goes into the commentary stuff, backstage stuff. So this feels like a kind of a checklist of stuff for him, showing all these different facets of his characters and stuff, which is cool. And if he's going to do anything that ticks that deathmatch box, why not do it against arguably the most renowned deathmatch guy currently that does that thing in Nick Gage? So Yeah, it will be a spectacle. I think it's going to please the diehard fans of that deathmatch style stuff, and it's probably going to open some people's eyes who don't know of that and may go and tune into stuff like GCW, which I believe is the promotion that Nick Gage is a part of.
Yeah, I mean, if you can say anything about it, even if you don't like Nick Gage, I think it speaks to how much AEW has their finger on the pulse of independent wrestling. And to understand Nick Gage is hot and understand that people want to see him on network television. I mean, and again, I have Wheeler Yuta 2 weeks in a row. That just tells you that their finger's on the pulse. And that's what I like about it.
Yeah, for sure. Just to say one more thing just before you move on, let's just go back to the early point of the Lance Archer and John Moxley match. Let's not forget, yes, he beat Moxley. Yes, he went over. A New Japan championship changed hands in the States. That's massive. You want to talk about forbidden doors being open? That thing's coming off the hinges now. That's a big title to be changing hands over here. Or over there, rather.
Yeah, I mean, for you UK guys that are watching for Troy, Hikuleo said it's coming home. So
I saw that on his Twitter. Oh yeah, I popped for that.
Awesome. Yeah.
I was very happy.
it wasn't lost on me, but until you mentioned it, it had kind of jumped out of my head. But you're right, that's a big deal, man. I mean, the guy. I mean, and Phil, you talked about this some last night. It's like the whole idea of New Japan wanting to get back in America and keep pushing forward like they did before the pandemic struck. I mean, that's a big deal. And, you know, it's a smart business move to do business with the big companies. I mean, I think it's absolutely something they should be doing. And I love this all day, man.
Yeah, I think it makes a ton of sense for New Japan. They lost a chance to do their big U.S. tour. So to still have like a foothold in America and have your guys relevant on network television, to have your titles on television. I mean, they made sure that Jay had that never open weight title with him. And he made sure to say that Finley could not beat him for that title. So it seems like that match is coming. And if that match is coming in the U.S., it makes a lot of sense. It might happen on one of their U.S. cards.
Speaking of Archer, I got to show you guys this. This was from 2019. When New Japan brought a version of their show to North Carolina back when the travel ban was in effect. Thanks, former President Doofus, for that. We took. I'm 6'3", kids. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, we took this picture, and I came back, and then my wife's like, "How'd the show go?" And I'm showing her, and I said, "Honey," I said, "there's two real men in this picture, and your husband's not one of them." I said, "Look at these guys, man. My God in heaven." I stood next to Archer, and I'm like, "Nice to meet you." Holy God. You know what I mean? So
I didn't realize how tall Archer was, man. Like, he is a beast. And then I didn't realize how big Hikuleo was. And then he got in the ring and stood opposite Archer, and I was like,
big guy.
Wow. Like, he's 6'9", 6'10". Like, Archer's listed as 6'8".
Yeah.
And to be fair, Hikuleo's also listed as 6'8". And then they stood next to each other. I was like, he's definitely not 6'8".
The commentators are like, "My God, I didn't know he was like, they're for real." They were like, "I didn't know he was this tall." Like,
oh man, JR, he was ready. He was like, "Oh, he got a big boy.
He's a big boy. he's a big stud."
It's funny because like his old WWE brain's like, "Bigger the better, pal. They're big guys. We love them. He's like, "Oh, we love them." It's like, wait a minute. Oh, I got to calm down. Yeah,
they're big meaty men slapping meat.
Man, barbecue is in stores right now.
Oh, that's good stuff. Speaking of meat, fans, that's good stuff. Yeah, that's what a night, man. That freaking AEW show, dude. And I'm telling you, man, they just keep bringing it home. It's crazy how good this product is. You know, and I don't mean to keep gushing, but I don't care. I don't care who doesn't like it.
You're within your right to. I don't watch AEW anywhere near as much as you guys do and the rest of the guys I do the podcast with. But I've been keeping an eye on watching it and tuning the last few weeks and just been like, they just keep knocking it out the park. I'm like, even when they have an average show by their standards, it's still leagues above anything else a lot of other people put out. To consistently put something out that's watchable, It's just, yeah. Even at the time when there was no fans, it was still just like, yeah, every single week. So gush as much as you want. It's okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's see. Tim going back to it says Baker versus Nyla Rose should have been second to last match, the end, or the main event. Tim, I get you. And honestly, Tim kind of throws an interesting viewpoint there. Do you think that they're highlighting the women's championship as much as, I feel like they've done a fairly good job with it. I don't remember thinking, well, they're not featuring this title enough. Do you think, I don't know, there's so many men that are stars on that show. Do you fear that at some point maybe they'll get lost a little bit with that women's title? You think they're still in pretty good shape?
I think they're in good shape. I think that they're miles better with their women's division than they were last year. I think they've got a champion that can do all this stuff, like cut the promos. And, as great as I think Sheeta was in ring, they clearly didn't give her the reins like they give Baker to cut promos. And so I think this is a step in the right direction. I think giving her Nyla as the first challenger, because Nyla's fantastic. I know some people online are weird, but Nyla's fantastic. I thought they had a great match, and I thought it was very interesting here that they did like a heel versus heel match, but they made sure to still establish that both of them were heels. Like Britt still basically cheated to win this match, so it was clear that they are not ready to make her babyface quite yet. And if I'm right, and I think that Statlander's the next challenger, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, Troy, one of the complaints that we had with AEW for a while there was that the women's division was kind of non-existent. Go now to present day versus the conversations from last year. How do you think they've done so far with it?
Night and day, and that's only reinforced by what we discussed earlier with the signing of Thunder Rosa. Night and day from a year or so ago, maybe even a bit before. Like there was, yeah. I think now they, like you said, they never really gave the reins to Sheeta, and I think now they've got it in Britt Baker where she's over as hell. And as you say, she's babyface. The crowd is treating her babyface, and whatever they try and do to her booking wise with her character, she's still going to be over as hell. So I think it's in a good position in terms of someone that's leading them through. She doesn't have to be on TV every week defending the belt. She's good enough to cut those promos where she can still keep the interest there for the women's division and keep people hanging on, like wanting to see it and wanting to watch it, by just having those promos each and every week. And they can not have her defend it, but do a really good job of just building up those next few challenges. So we'll start to see an emergence of some fresh faces come through.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to two things next Wednesday night live in Charlotte. One is singing Judas along with the crowd. I'm looking forward to that. Number two is going DMD with Britt Baker. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
I have tickets for Fozzy when they're coming over to the UK later this year.
Dude, I'd like to see them. I genuinely would.
Seen them a couple of times. Very, very good. Yeah, Jericho comes out with his light up jacket at the start.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Phil, if I don't know if you've ever given that band a chance, but check out their first album compared to the latest one. Man, he's progressed, and I know I've got the same feelings on Chris and his politics, but because I totally do. I totally do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, man, he's progressed as a vocalist. I'm not saying he's, Robert Plant over here. Let's relax. But man, he's I encourage you to check it out. I think they're a good band, dude. Ratings, kids. Look at that AEW number. Look, I'm not shilling for this company. I get no cash on the back end from Tony Khan. By the way, Tony, if you're listening or watching, I'm ready to be bought and sold, baby. I've been for sale for years, okay? I've been on the market for years. I have no problem selling out. It's what I'm all about. So the minute you're ready to throw some coin my way, I'll put your logo all over this freaking show. Welcome to Tom Clark's AEW main event, baby. I'm just saying. I'll wear the t-shirt, the hat, the headband. I'll wear a wristband. I look like John Cena up in here with logos all over me. Call me Tony. I'm just saying. 1.15, dude. It's their third highest, I think it was said, third highest rating since the company began. I mean, look, last week 1.02. I'm not suggesting next week's 1.5 million. I'm not saying we're going to get there. But Phil, over time, if they keep building, are we looking a year from now at over 2 million? Do you think that's feasible, or is that too far out of the realm right now?
I don't know, man. I'm going to be interested to see how their ratings perform when they have 2 shows a week, because it's different when you have just like one show and that's the only time people are like, okay, I know to tune in on Wednesday. But when you've got 2 shows a week and you're kind of diluting your content a little bit, I'm interested to see how that goes. It could help them a lot because it could give them a spot, like we were saying earlier, with their women's division, to give more of these women's spots on television on Fridays. I don't know. I'm very curious to see how things go, both after they make the move to 2 shows and what happens after All Out.
Well, if this were around the horn, I would have gave you a bunch of points just now because that's good stuff. Troy, what do you think, man? Do you think we're seeing a progression up the ladder here for this company?
It's difficult to say. It's still early days in that crowds have only just come back. So a lot of people have been hankering for crowds to come back. I think there's a spike in both, and we've seen it with Raw and SmackDown and AEW with crowds back in place. Obviously, there's not too much shift in NXT, but they've still only got 200 people in the CWC. It's never going to change, not yet anyway. I think wait for it a few more months, and then see if that kind of progression continues. But I certainly think the fact that crowds are back plays a big part in these viewing numbers. Yeah, we'll see. I think it's nice to see them kind of, riding that wave at the moment, and it's deservedly so because they're putting out products. They're putting out a solid product each and every week. And I know we got Rampage starting up soon. Rampage is an hour long, and it's after SmackDown, so it's not even going head to head with SmackDown.
Right.
And it'll be interesting, like you say, how they will kind of split what goes on with those shows and how it dilutes certain things. You maybe have, I don't know, Dynamite that focuses on, say, the men's championship and the women's championship, and Rampage features on the tag division and the mid-card division or something like that. Like, there is space to split those up. And then you've got stuff like Dark and Dark Elevation, which kind of brings up those rising talents. So, yeah, it's nice that it's only an hour. Yeah. It shouldn't dilute it too much more because, I mean, you look at it, like, even Dynamite and Rampage combined are still the same amount of time as one episode of Raw. They can't mess this up. It'll be fine. Like, for those people to watch NXT UK is an hour and it's all killer, no filler. Like, they get everything in, and they managed to do it so well on Dynamite in 2 hours. There's no doubt they're going to do the same on Rampage as well. So,
and not for nothing, but most New Japan shows are 2+ hours, sometimes much longer than that. But by the end of the broadcast, I don't feel like it was over 2 hours because it's all wrestling. Novel concept, kids, all wrestling. As Troy said, no filler. By the way, folks, if you're ever curious as how I pick the guests for my 2 podcasts here, Troy's long answer there is a reason why. And Phil, you've done it too, and I've done it. When I throw a question, I don't get, because they suck, that's why, and they suck. Because you see what I'm saying? Because you read, that's the comments and that's the garbage you get on Twitter. But I want people who are thinking this stuff out. It's not, because they suck, and shut up. Like, anyway, I just want to throw some respect to my guest today because that's why you guys are on, because I've got the thinking man's pro wrestling fans / creators here on my show, and that's important to me. So I don't know what other podcasts you guys watch out there, kids, but guess what? This is a good one, okay? I'm just saying. Chris, go ahead. What you got, Phil?
I was just going to say, tell them to step their game up, man. We don't want to hear you screaming at the camera, telling us how bad shows are. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it, man.
Yeah. There's too many people doing that crap. And we're at the end of the day, what are they contributing to the conversation? They're really not doing anything for it. It's man, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus because it's not worth my time to mention their names, but like I've listened to podcasts before and they are just blatant with their, I don't care about anything else but this one person and stuff. And I'm like, okay, like the whole concept that wrestlers have actual wrestlers behind the curtain is like, they're just fans. It's shows like that I agree with them. Those guys are just fans. They're not looking big picture. I feel like I want people's perspectives on here. They're looking big picture, not just their one little corner of the world. Well, this company is the best and I don't hear about anybody else. That's boring to me, man. That's boring to me, Chris says they need to actually promote the signings, not just rely on good faith at a pay-per-view for a big star. They've killed that. Similar to Shaq would be my route. And Chris, to your point, AEW's got some work ahead of them, but hopefully, no, Chris, no, you're not good, man. By the way, Chris is the co-host of the Wrestling Geeks Alliance podcast. So everybody go check them out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You can't just bring in new stars, but boy, Hangman Page is getting the loudest pop almost every week. You can't say they're not making new stars. You cannot say that. Go back and look at the reaction Hangman was getting in their first year and look at his reaction now. Night and day. I mean, look at the reaction to Jungle Boy. Look at the reaction to Darby. They're getting big reactions.
Mm. Yep. Yeah.
I mean,
the reaction that Hangman got on the first pay-per-view back in front of the crowd.
Oh, wow.
Like that. And every time he comes out, it's just chaos.
Yeah, I love that guy to death, man. I hope he takes the belt. I don't know if he will, but I hope he does. In case you hadn't noticed, kids, we've opened this floor wide open. Try not to trip and fall in it. Here we go. Ray, I'm going to hit you with this, my friend. Wu-Tang or DMX? And for Phil, when Adam Cole wins the belt, can you, like Troy, FaceTime me and watch me do the happy dance? Ray, I'm not answering the first one. This is not fair. I will not choose between DMX or Wu-Tang, and you can't make me. That's too hard. A lot of times Ray throws this one, and I can't. It's not hard. Troy, what do you got?
Wu-Tang all day.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
It's too hard for me, man. Phil, which one? Which one? You got to choose.
I don't think that's a fair comparison because you're comparing a group with all these guys with single records and to one guy. Like, what I will say is none of them had the run that DMX had when he first started. So DMX, I mean, two charting albums in the same year, two Billboard charting albums in the same year. Nobody else in hip hop has come close to that.
Nobody in hip hop had, was it 4 albums debut at number 1 on Billboard, consecutive albums in a row? I think it was 4. Yeah. By the way, kids, the DMX episode of Tom Clark's 6M podcast available right now. So there you go. Yeah, that's hard for me, but I'm gonna roll with Phil on that one. It's not a fair comparison because I don't want to have to do it. So that gets me off the hook.
And huge Ghostface guy, so that's not me, copping out. Huge Ghostface guy, one of my favorite rappers.
There you go. Oh, Chris says KRS-One or Method Man. It's meth for me.
Meth for me all day. Sorry,
meth. Just
METHOD, man. There you go. Oh, Elvis, Team USA or Team UK in the Olympics? Troy can't answer this question.
I mean, I can answer the question. It's Team USA. Like Team USA, I watched the opening ceremony earlier, which if you haven't watched, if you've got some sort of means of watching it back, watch it. It was excellent. Even though there was no crowd in the arena in Tokyo. Superb opening ceremony. USA don't turn up to an Olympics to just be there. Like they've got like the second biggest team there. They've got like 600-700 athletes. They clear up every games. They come out like in the opening ceremony or like braggadocious. Like I'd come out like that if I knew I was expected to win hundreds of medals in the Olympics. Of course they're going to clean house. Britain will take a few in, I don't know, rowing maybe.
Rowing.
Whatever worked good out. I don't know. We were good at rowing once, like Steve Redgrave and Matthew Pinson. I don't know, the Queen gave him some sort of knighthood for winning a row once. I don't know. There's a few things we're okay at, but do you know what excites me about the Olympics generally, aside from Team USA, Team UK? The amount of new events they've chucked in at the Olympics. We've got Tony Hawk commentating on the skateboarding in the Olympics. How good is that?
That's awesome.
We've got surfing at the Olympics. We've got 3v3 basketball. We've got like the speed climbing, like wall climbing. There's some awesome surfing. We've got some awesome events at the Olympics. I love the Olympics. I'm a big fan of it.
Man, 2 observations. One, you know way more about the Olympics that you just quoted than I've ever known. I'm just saying. Number 2, USA don't come to party with a potato salad. Germany brings potato salad. We bring the ribs, okay? That's our job. So, yeah, we show up. It's the truth.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, honestly, I don't invest in the Olympics. I don't have anything against it, but I just usually don't invest.
I do.
Yes, you do.
Got the Olympics game.
Oh man, look at that.
We've got the Mario and Sonic one as well, because Olympics. Why not?
I'm just checking out the Danhausen poster. I love Danhausen. We don't talk enough about that guy.
Very nice. Very evil.
Listen
evil.
to his appearance on Jericho's podcast, and Jericho played along with the character. It's actually really good.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's good. We had to mention Braun Strowman because a lot of people were talking about him. Have I missed something in the past 24 hours? Someone mentioned his merch on WWE.com disappearing. What's going on?
It's now back on there. There's some new shirts on there.
Oh, I see.
They're talking about re-signing him. That's the rumor. I don't think anybody thought that Braun was going to be like a big indie wrestler or go somewhere else and become this fixture. I always imagined that they would end up re-signing him. I always thought this was just a way to get him out of that big contract he was in.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. They're going to lowball him on something else, bring him back on something slightly lower. It makes sense. Like it's trying to, I don't know, from the various things that go about and you read and stuff, kind of trying to trim the fat off those books, make it look like a healthier kind of balance. Like you've got a guy like that isn't the world champion, that isn't being used as much maybe should be, that's on like $1 million+ contract. Like, of course you're going to go, we'll get back to you later.
Get these
makes
pay
sense.
cuts.
Yeah, that's it.
Get these pay cuts.
Well, they presented the contract, and I assume he's going to sign the contract with these hands. Sorry. I just wanted a way to work that in. I really had no reason other than that just to do it. Let's see. Will they actually take advantage of Tony Storm's talent?
Oh, man.
What?
I love Tony Storm. I mean,
Toby.
I love Tony Storm. I hope so. I'm excited for her to come up. She's one of the women that Becky really wants to wrestle, so hopefully we get that dream match soon. And it helps that she's coming to SmackDown. Raw is really the place where women's segments are horrible.
Women's segments go to die on Monday Night
like
Raw.
It's the graveyard.
So yeah, I'm hopeful that she's going to SmackDown. Yeah. That's all I can say.
Oh, she is. They've been showing the vignettes of her on SmackDown, haven't they? Not Raw. So, yeah, there's a positive already in that she will hopefully be treated better there. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Tony Storm, even though she mugged me off for a picture once when I met her at the Rumble last year, and I constantly get wound up about it with friends, and I asked her for a picture, and she begrudgingly had a picture, and she looks miserable as hell. But I don't hold that against her. I'd just come back from the Rumble. I'd just seen Drew win, and I was very excited. And I'd had a few beers, so I may have been quite excited to have a picture of her. Clearly, she didn't take liking to it.
I've always wanted, and I've never had the guts to do it, but always wanted to have the MO of posing with a wrestler, where I just want to go like that, and I just want to ask the guy, "Listen, could you just look at me like you're mad? That would be great." You know what I mean? It's like every picture. Yeah.
So you basically just described Sami Zayn's Axl Rose story where he asked him for a picture and he's like, "Not now."
I never heard that. That's awesome.
Oh my God. Amazing. The thing is, it wasn't just Tony Storm. It was Tony Storm. It was Tyler Bate. It was who else was there? There was a few other people there. Kaylee Ray was there, all in the same bar. And she was the most miserable. But it's okay. Because she's going to do well on SmackDown, so it's okay.
It's like, which one of these people looks the most unhappy? Oh, Tony, let's have a picture with her. So, that's great. Elvis says, Green Bay or Dallas. I'm a Vikings fan, so I'm out of this conversation.
Listen, I am a Chicagoan. Never Green Bay in this household, ever. No pack, no, ever. But at the same time, hate the Dallas Cowboys. This is a terrible pick for me. But I'm going to take the Cowboys because never Green Bay in the city. Ever.
Oh. So I'm in lieu of the Cleveland Indians becoming the Cleveland Guardians, Troy, we're going to rename football handball here in this country. Yeah, God, it's handball.
I mean, handball's a totally different sport.
Tell me, is it a real sport?
I used to play handball.
Oh my God, it is. What is it?
Yeah. Handball's kind of like a cross between like rugby and basketball.
Man.
And netball. So in that you can't continuously run and bounce the ball. You have to, it's a smaller ball. It's like, quite a bit smaller. And you just pass it between the team, but you've got like a kind of a small size football goal, and you have to leap up in the air and launch the ball in and throw it.
Wow.
Watch it. I paid attention to handball when we had the Olympics here in 2012, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's a sport called handball," and I was like, "Don't you mean American football?" They were like, "No, it's called handball." I was like, "Right, okay." So I watched it, and I was like, "That looks like a sport I need to play." I was like, "It looks nice and physical. You literally have to throw yourself in the air to score a point. It's good." Yeah,
Wow.
genuinely. Just look up, like, you've got beach handball and you've got like indoor handball. It's a crazy sport, man.
Well, over here, they do frisbee, but they call it disc golf.
Oh, we've got disc golf as well. Yeah,
It's
it's called frizz golf.
Frisbee.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we have frisbee, and you have what's called ultimate frisbee.
Oh my
Ultimate
God.
Ultimate frisbee's played on like a rugby or like an American football field.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're going to make my head start hurting.
I'm going to open your eyes up to a whole world of sport. It's the Olympics. Don't worry, there's plenty to learn.
Oh man.
Was that a World of Sports pun that you threw out there?
World of sport, maybe that wasn't not intended.
I was going to say, yeah. How did we get the wires crossed on that one? Chris says, just did a meet and greet with Jeff Hardy, super nice guy, and posed Hitting Twist of Fate with several people and talked to everyone at Smith's Old Barn, Atlanta. Highly recommend him. Let me tell you something about them Hardy boys. Okay. They're Carolina boys, and they are down to earth people. I was at a HVW show years ago, and Matt was the main event. He was the guy. I interviewed him that night. Coolest guy ever. This was back when he was still in TNA, and he was just the best guy ever. And he just after the show was announced, we're going to do meet and greets. Anybody that bought a meet and greet, buy your autograph, that kind of thing, because the guy's got to make his side hustle, and that's cool. But like anybody that wants to do that, let Matt go to the back, get cleaned up. He'll be right back out. And Matt's like, no, bring him on now. So the fans got to go in the ring with the sweaty Matt Hardy, who just got done with his match, and pose for pictures. The last people in the building that night was the owner, Gary and myself, Matt and his wife. We were the last people in the building. Everyone else had already left. He could have split for the airport 5 minutes after his match, but he stayed. And every fan that came up to him, he shook their hands and looked them in the eye and said, "Hi, I'm Matt. What's your name?" Every single one. Now, that's a pro wrestling thing. We go in the locker room and shake everyone's hand, look them in the eye. That's something that the talent does. I've done it for years. I do it in situations that are not a pro wrestling, like in a work environment. There's a big meeting room full of guys, and I'm going around making the rounds. And one time, one of the guys is like, "Man, you're meeting everybody in here, aren't you?" And it occurred to me, you're doing the pro wrestling shtick. Like it didn't even occur to me. You know what I mean? But I can't say enough good things about Matt Hardy, dude. He's awesome. So I'm not surprised about Jeff. Let's see. Toby says, Troy, have you ever played cornhole? Do they have cornhole over there?
I've never heard of that.
Wow. Phil is a 3-time cornhole champion for the city of Chicago. Did you know this?
I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is. What is that?
Okay, so basically it's like a big wooden board tilted up from the ground, like at a certain angle, and you got like a bean bag, and you got to throw it in the hole. Yeah,
I know what you mean. I didn't know that's what it was called. I know that game.
What it was called. I thought it was just like, I don't know, some game people play with beanbags. I don't know.
Let me throw this back at you. Have you played bar billiards? There you go.
Interesting. Is that pool?
It's sort of like pool, but you've got, instead of the holes in the corners, you have holes at the end of the table, and you just shoot up the table. But over each hole was like what looks like a kind of mushroom, a wooden mushroom. If you knock that over, it clears the points off your table. But if you get it in the hole that mushroom sits over, you get all the points. And there's differing like levels of difficulty on the table. Look at bar billiards. It's a real fun game. There may be very few places in the States that have it, but if you find it, you get a chance to play it. It's very good. A lot of fun.
Wow. That's I thought you were making all this crap up, but then you said look it up. So it'd be great if you look.
Let me just edit the Wikipedia page. Yeah, quick, look it up.
I'm gonna look it up, and Google's gonna say Troy made all this up. None of this is real.
Recently edited on this date.
Oh, look here. Victor says it's not beans, it's corn kernels. Well, that's why. See, I had no idea. That's why it's cornhole. I had no idea.
Cornhole, because you're trying to get the corn in the hole, I guess. I don't know.
My God. I have
really oddly sexual. So
yeah, I wasn't going to go there, but you did. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome everyone from his deep sleep of the day, the boy,
The boy. Whoop, whoop.
He's completely out of it. Been sleeping all day. And he's not even going to comment. He's like, what?
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Come on, man.
It's
Summertime, bro.
a tough life.
Good to see you, kid. He's gone. That's funny. All right. One more, and we're getting out of here because, man, we ran a little long. One more, kids. There's not many of you left. Give us a good one. We'll get on out of here. Chris says, today was a good day. That's good.
I gotta say, today was a good day.
That's good. I think we'll end on that. We can't get much better than that. Kids, I want to thank everybody for watching. And as always, I want to thank my guest, Troy. Tell the good people of Tom Clark's Main Event where they can find you on the internet machine.
Oh, all of the places. So we are on Facebook and YouTube. If you search for Untitled Wrestling Podcast, we're on there. We're also on Twitter, Twitch, and Discord at Untitled Rest Pod. If you're into wrestling, give us a shout. If you're into computer games, we do regular streams on Twitch every Saturday. We do multiplayer games, co-op games. We invite you guys to join. And if you want to get involved with that, like I say, follow us on Twitch at Untitled Rest Pod. And if you want to get involved in the conversation about wrestling, games, food, drink, TV, and anything else, it's Discord at Untitled Rest Pod.
Awesome. Phil, what you got, my man? Hit him with it.
You can follow me at PhilDL616 on Twitter. If you're interested in my rantings and ravings about wrestling, you can read them at Daily DDT. I just put out an article this morning on what they should do with Big E's cash-in. And you can also find my writing at Bleacher Report. I think I just had an article that came out yesterday. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm sorry. I did. That's right. I put out an article yesterday about should Kenny Omega lose the title at All Out. I'll retweet that for people if they want to read it.
Awesome. Yeah, if you want to see Phil causing trouble and stirring people up, Twitter's the place to go. Because every time I turn around, Phil's causing trouble. And I'm like, I go through my time like, oh, crap, who'd he make mad this time? Let's go watch. So, yeah, that's good. People get all kinds of bothered over silly internet stuff. And it's awesome to see. So, God forbid anybody have an opinion here, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? You get blasted for it. So,
hey, man, I don't want the smoke. I don't.
Sing that song. That's a good song.
Yeah.
We don't want the smoke. Yeah, there you go. All right, guys. Thank you as always. I'm sure we'll be in touch very soon. Thanks again for hanging out. Appreciate you. All right, kids. There's Tom Clark's Main Event, episode number 235 in the can. I should have announced this through the entire show. Next week, we're here on Thursday. Crap. My God in heaven, I forgot to tell everybody here. Next Thursday, not Friday. I will be indisposed that Friday. So next Thursday, be sure you hang out with us. I promise you're going to enjoy it. Tom Clark's Main Event, episode number 236, back live in the living color next Thursday, live at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't worry, I'll promote the crap out of it in the next few days. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Everybody have a great weekend. I appreciate you. Thanks, as always, for hanging out. We'll see you next week, Thursday, Tom Clark's Main Event.